specifically told by the judge not to. So we had that issue, and then there was a hair and a fiber found on one of the bodies that was microscopically similar to that of Eccles and Mr. Baldwin. And of course, you being a crime scene investigator, you know what microscopically similar means. It simply means colors are similar. It doesn't mean that it's the right one. It's an exclusionary test instead of an inclusionary test, but those two factors, along with the confession, and that was all they needed. And the occult expert who showed up with a mail order PhD and said this homicide had the trappings of the occult, it was simply like the Salem witch trial. So that's the evidence that we had then. And unfortunately, it was sufficient for these juries to do, as you stated earlier, Joe, is to they won't give you the death penalties because they're not sure, but they don't mind giving you life in prison.
Right.
And
I do have a
classic compromise verdict.
I do have a question from one of the our chat in the chat room here. It says, I think Terry Hobbs should be looked at closer. I think Terry Hobbs should be looked at closer.
Well, getting back to the second prong of your earlier question, the evidence that we have now, thank goodness for DNA evidence, getting better and more shedding light on this case each and every day as we progress here. We have a hair that was found at the crime scene that matches Terry Hobbs' DNA. There's another hair that matches a friend of Terry Hobbs that was with him throughout the day the boys disappeared. So that's compelling. And this is not just a hair that was found at the crime scene. It's a hair belonging to Mr. Hobbs that's been established by DNA that was found in the ligature binding one of the victims. So that's not just a hair that might have got transferred secondarily. It was found in the knot binding one of the victims. So that's pretty compelling evidence. As someone who represented Mr. Miskelly in his trial court in his first set of appeals, I can tell you, and I think you would agree with this, Joe, it's not Mr. Miskelly's job to prove that Mr. Hobbs did it. It's merely our job to prove that Mr. Miskelly didn't do it. And so, whether or not Mr. Hobbs should be looked at, that's a decision for the defense lawyers to make and the investigators to make, but also the primary decision falls on the prosecutor for our judicial district and the West Memphis Police, and they don't seem to be interested at all in this theory, although Mr. Hobbs has more evidence pointing to him than anything else you can find in this case.
I don't know Mr. Hobbs personally, and I'm brought into the case, of course, all week long studying some things and going over some things. But does Hobbs have any political connections there? Is he? And again, we're certainly not accusing anybody, but does he have any political connections there, or any type of?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know him either. I just know him peripherally through investigating this case for 18 years, but I know he's made some inconsistent statements about where he was on that day to the police, and then there's witnesses who come forward now and say if he told you he wasn't with those boys on the day they disappeared, he's lying because we've seen him next door. So there's a lot of things that probably and I'm sure are going to be looked into, but whether or not the West Memphis Police will ever look into it remains a mystery.
So, do you, after I've looked at what I've been able to look at, some online, some through the movies, whatever, do you get the feeling that, just as an investigator myself, I get the feeling that these three little boys that were murdered knew too much, or knew something too much, or knew of something, or one of them did, and it was opportunity and intent for one of them, and the other two just wrong place, wrong time, witnesses, whatever. Is that kind of your conclusion too?
Well, and out of fairness to Mr. Hobbs, I'm not suggesting